What's up, gente? What's up, Raza? So I have a question, especially considering the shootings that ICE has taken part in, not just this summer, but also in the past months and years. And that's whether people, especially Chicanos and Raza, should arm themselves against ICE agents. I'm being serious about this question because of what's going on, especially with the second administration of Trump being out there. For example, I shot another man, a 26-year-old man named Juan Sebastian Guerrero. And this happened in Maine during a traffic stop. The Colombian man who had permission to be here to work in the United States was not the intended target. This is a pattern, gente, because the same thing happened in Houston when a man named Lorenzo, I believe his last name is Salgado, a father and a worker, a hard worker who was not even the target, was also targeted. And in addition to these traffic stops, you have a person who was killed trying to flee from ICE or fleeing from ICE when they were chasing him in Miami. Had to run into the freeway out of fear. These are only the latest that we've heard of, right? Uh, and with that said, I'm going to go back to the question: should we, as people, arm ourselves against ICE? And my answer to everybody is yes. Let's arm ourselves. Let's make sure we have any means necessary. I stick by that. By any means necessary, we should arm ourselves against ICE or any other crooked cop or politician, you name it, but specifically ICE, because they got it out for us. A lot of us are the wrong color. A lot of us speak the wrong language. A lot of us look a certain way. They got it out for us. And this president right now has a quota that he's trying to meet. I think it's 2,000 per day. And this is a fanatical way of go hunting people down because of who they are, quote unquote. They're here illegally, according to him. So if this is how we're perceived by the White House, at least when these law enforcement agencies no longer provide the security they're supposed to provide the people, then it's up to us to arm ourselves against these killing machines, against these Nazis with badges hiding behind a mask. And I'm going to make it clear we should arm ourselves by any means necessary. And that also includes cell phones, keeping you recording what you're doing, knowing your rights, arm yourself with that knowledge, arm yourself with the art. It should never get to this point where society has to armor themselves against the government. But this is not new. As a history teacher, I'll tell you, this has always happened. And it comes a time when people must arm themselves. Final point I'll make here is when I'm talking about arming yourself, I'm talking about Second Amendment rights. I'm talking about arming yourself with the guns or firearms somebody might own in your home or in your car. Remember, a lot of these people being gunned down is happening at traffic stops. And I would tell people, yes, comply if you want to stay alive, because they're not going to give you a chance. Comply if you have family members and people that rely on you. Comply. But if you have a right to have firearms in your home, in your car, if you live in a state that allows you to carry, arm yourself. I hate to get to that point of this question, but when we're being hunted down, literally hunted down by federal agencies, and in this case, ICE, then we do need to arm ourselves. We need to be united in this way of thinking. We need to tell our fathers, if they're not listening, our grandfathers and grandmothers. We need to tell our children, our boys and girls. We need to let them know. And just like many people in the Black community have to have that talk with a young Black child, this is one talk we've always had in the Chicano Mexicano community or the community of indigenous people, because we know what it means to be hunted down by what used to be called La Migra. La Migra, who used to be prior to ICE, the ones that will hunt us down, that would look for us, that would deport us, right? We know what it meant to have to run away and hide under beds and closets, as I've documented on this channel. That was my experience living in Los Angeles during the early 70s, when they used to, the slumlord would call the immigration on us to have us deported, because that way he could, double dip and pay and keep some of that money, right? We were undocumented. He knew that. Salvadoreños, Mexicanos, he didn't care. They would call. So it's sad that it has to get to this point that I have to ask that question but with the recent shootings and stops by ICE, we need to ask a serious question. And my answer is yes. We do need to arm ourselves against an agency, a killer machine that's hunting us down, known as ICE.